What's up? It's me here. And today we got a good one. I'm going to break down a $3,000 a month budget. So if you make about $3,000 a month living here in the United States, this is actually a pretty common income for many people, especially those just starting out in their career. These are recurring expenses that are relatively the same every single month. You can usually predict them pretty accurately. For example, rent. But let us assume you want to be eating at home most of the time, and you want to be eating healthy, and you want to save money. Now this one again depends on your lifestyle. Do you drive? Do you have a car? Do you have student loans? Are you paying off any debt? And the general rule of thumb is that you should be saving at least 10 of whatever you make. So if you're making $3,000 a month, you should be saving roughly around $300 a month. Depending on those answers, this number could be different. But let us assume that you do have a car and you have car insurance and you're paying off student loans and maybe a little bit of credit card debt. In that case, it's safe to assume that your transportation costs will be around $500 a month. In that case, you should be able to get by with spending roughly around $300 a month on groceries. That's about $10 a day. A lot of people think that you need to be making a lot of money in order to be rich. Until next time. But that's not actually true. The real secret to becoming rich is by spending less than you earn. So if you follow the budget that I laid out in this video and you were able to save even just a little bit of money, then congratulations, you're already on your way to becoming rich. Rent is going to be different depending on where you live. So I'll give you some figures, but just keep in mind these are averages. You may be paying less or more. But if you're renting an apartment or a house, it's safe to assume that your rent will be roughly around $1,200 per month. If you live here in the U.S., you could be making anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000 a month. But this video is gonna focus on that sweet spot of $3,000. Here's exactly what you should do with your money to make sure you stay afloat and thrive. Let's get right into it. Alright, so $3,000 a month. The average amount spent on utilities in the US is somewhere around $200 per month. Now, this is just an average. It could be more, it could be less. But again, let's stick with the assumption that you're paying around $200 a month for utilities. The first place I like to start when breaking down any budget is by focusing on fixed costs. Utilities is another fixed cost, and this includes things such as electricity, gas, water, trash, internet, Wi-Fi, things like that. Groceries is another one. Groceries is tough because it really depends on your lifestyle, how often you eat at home, how often you eat out. Transportation is another fixed cost. And then finally, savings. Savings is something that everyone should be doing regardless of how much money you make. Now let's add all those fixed costs up. That brings us to our variable costs. These are costs that change every single month. They are not consistent and they are harder to predict. For example, clothing, entertainment, subscriptions, miscellaneous stuff. The total amount spent on variable costs will depend on your lifestyle. But for the sake of sticking to our budget, let's assume that your variable costs will be around $300 a month. Now once you subtract your variable costs from your income, that means you're left with $200. And what I recommend doing with this money is taking $100 and throwing it towards your savings, and then taking the other $100 and paying off as much debt as possible. But before we end this video, here's a quick tip. I know that was a super quick and easy video, but if you liked it, be sure to hit the subscribe button below.